All right, today I'm going to talk about Russia of all things. um, there's a lot of stuff going on that the news won't report. They just won't talk about it, and it's really freaking out Putin because he's kind of trying to scare all of us, but they're not letting him, and it's making him even more desperate. There's been a lot of maneuvering right up against the border of Russia, stuff that they would have never done, back in the Cold War, not in a million years. But as they see Russia as less and less of a threat, they're becoming more and more aggressive towards doing things right up against his border, like I said, that they would have never done, just a couple decades ago. And he's kind of flipping out. um, the missile defense system in Romania, as well as the one in Poland. According to him, I guess he believes that they have information or hacked it or whatever they did, that it's like a three-step system, and only one of the components is the defense. There's actually an aggressive a component to it that he's convinced is there. Um, he's concerned that the balance of power is gone, that, Russia had balanced America, from doing its crazy nonsense. And then now they're not there to balance it, which was really the other way around. If it wasn't for America, Russia would have done a lot more evil stuff than it did. It really liked taking over other people's countries and telling them what to do. That was like one of its main things. Um, turning people into communists, whether they liked it or not. And so right now he's getting desperate, and he's on the fence on what he's going to do. If he does nothing, then it's going to continue, and he's going to be shut down completely, and he knows it. And his nuclear deterrent is disappearing because of these anti-missile missiles, and especially now they have these amazing lasers too that take out. They're far more effective at taking out, ballistic missiles and stuff. And so some of them are on planes. I guess there's different ways of using these, but the capability is about 500 kilometers. And he says that very soon they'll be reaching up to 1,000 kilometers, and that his nuclear deterrent is just disappearing. He knows fully well that the American army is, you see all these videos talking about how the Russia's army is the most powerful and this and that, like conspiracy people, right? And even he admits that there's the amount of firepower and stuff, and the amount of money spent to create this, the world's most powerful army, is well beyond his capabilities. He knows that. He knows he can do it like a regional thing, and in the industrial, the war complex, or how do you, I'm not saying it right now. But the war machine in America will be more than happy to just do like a half-measured war like they do, just because they can just make it last longer, and get more and more money for doing it that way. And so he knows he's capable of doing like a little war like that. But anytime the Americans really want to stomp on him, that if they just want it over with or whatever, he knows that that's above their capabilities. So he's got a couple choices, and he's talking about basically that he's got EMPs that can neutralize those things, but he knows if he's got them, we've got them. And so and then you can't just like do a bunch of EMPs in America, because we have bases all over the world. We have nuclear submarines, they're always out and about, planes and stuff, that he just couldn't get it all. And so let's say they EMP'd us and we EMP'd him back, that our chances of annihilating him are much greater. And but he's really confused right now, and his only options is to do something really extreme. I mean, really extreme. Does he do a first strike before our capabilities reach the point where we can't, counter it? And he even said in an interview that he believed this conflict was inevitable at this point. And but like I said, the real problem with that is the longer he waits, the less chance any kind of action on his side is going to be effective. So he feels that he's been pushed up against a wall, and you can find like a speech of him talking about this. And in the speech, he's so frustrated because the media won't repeat in Europe and America what's going on. They won't tell anybody, where he's at or at what point he's at right now. And he's like in this one video you can find where he's actually scolding the media, talking about how, you're not going to repeat it. And it's basically is what he said. And the American people and the people in Europe aren't going to know just how close we are to, all out war. And again, he's very aware that he can't compete with the American, especially with our allies. You have to throw our allies in it, and that's, there's really not much he can do. And the chances of China jumping in to help him are like zero. And so, and Iran can't do much, even though they're friendly. I think Iran would pretty much stay out of this one too, because our capabilities of, if he starts dropping big bombs, our capabilities to shut him down and to really cause serious damage is greater than his. He knows it, but that gap is widening expeditiously, and he's aware of that. And so he's having to decide whether he's going to start World War III or not. And a month ago he was already like talking about, like I said, it was inevitable, that he didn't even think he could stop it from happening. And but this is probably the first time you're hearing this, because there's a complete blackout from the media about this. And I think with the Russian hacking thing, the only two hackers I heard mentioned both had in their title bear. Now, if you're going to hack in a way where you're going to go in and out and be undetected and grab information that you're going to keep and you don't want anybody to know you have, right? Your name isn't that important, right? But if you're going to leak the information that you collect, you want to use misdirection. You always want to blame somebody else. And, we know it's not China, because China would never do anything, to go against the globalists like Hillary Clinton, because, that she's good for China. But Trump is really bad for China. So he would never, China would never do anything to help them. But you have the Philippines that would love to see China, being, slowed down at least. Would like to see their income, dropped, or maybe even their economy implode on themselves, because they're being so aggressive. And, out in the sea between Japan and the Philippines, I mean, they're really, it's really tense out there. And so there's a lot of countries that would love to see Trump get into office, and they would do just about anything to do it. And I think it's highly unlikely that the Russians did it if they used a Russian name, even though you can say, well, they did it just so to throw you off, blah, 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 blah. But, and it isn't Putin's interest to have Trump in there, because the hawks, and Hillary Clinton's a hawk, and the hawks are putting so much pressure on him that he really thinks that he doesn't have really anything else to do. He thinks he's been pushed up against a wall, and he's got to do something, and something extreme. I mean, that's what is going on in his mind. And a man with, thousands of nuclear weapons with that kind of attitude, it's not a good thing. But, and so right now I think even though they don't know who hacked him and released all those things, they're trying to, get us ready to be kind of against Russia. The way they kind of geared us up for the Iraq War, they just gave us a whole bunch of misinformation, and coming from the same, characters, right? They just give you all this information, get you all excited and all worked up, and like, yeah, go get the Russians, even though, like I said, they don't even know if the Russians did the hacking. And so it's a really tense situation right now. There's a lot going on that we don't know about, that we're not being told. If it wasn't for the internet, we wouldn't have a clue this was happening, because, they own the media, and they've shut him down from, trying to talk directly to the American people, which we do and they do. We've always done that when things get really tense like this. They try to, get the population to be the voice of reason. But, it's looking pretty ugly, and it can end up really bad. And you would wonder, why would anybody want to wind him up, and why would anybody want to set him loose? But if you look at like World War II, America had the 19th largest army in the world, behind Romania. World War II created us a superpower. If you look at the banks that were loaning money to everybody, even the other side, the opposite side, both sides, and all of the debt they put everybody in from World War II, and all the money they made. I mean, they made the single biggest chunk of money they ever made was off of World War II. And they made a fortune off of the Iraq War too. You're wondering, well, why would they make it a fake war? And why are they purposely destabilizing the entire Middle East? Look at Libya. the new leaks that are coming out are supposed to be about showing that that Libya, the generals didn't want to do Libya because it was just going to give ISIS another stronghold. And but it was done anyways, knowing full well that that would be the case, that it would destabilize them, and ISIS and other terrorists would be able to move into yet another area. And so yet it was done anyways, and there's reasons for all this stuff. And so when you see me railing against the globalists and the hawks and all these people, and you wonder why I'm so consistent about it, right? Why I'm so adamant about these things, because we're talking, just with the Iraq War and all that. I mean, you're talking like 1 million people lost their lives, with just a lot of the destabilization that we caused, millions of people have been displaced. There's this huge migration of people moving around. There's all this tension, there's all this danger. People are being picked off right and left by these terrorist groups, because they've gotten so big and so powerful, and so they've gotten so many new followers. And you can look back to the destabilization that caused this huge influx of all this stuff going on. It wasn't them that that caused it and set it up. It was actually people moving pieces on a chessboard, trying to make excuses why they're spending the amount of money on on a defense when we got all our when we got so many allies, right? So to justify these ridiculous amount of money, I mean, they've got to scare you. And so when things are falling apart here, we're having a hard time here, they're not going to spend the money on you. They're going to spend it on bombs and weapons, but they need to drop them somewhere. So they're gonna stir the pot, and they're gonna do things that are completely counter to human life. And so if you're wondering why I'm so thoroughly against them, other than the fact they're destroying the middle class in our country, and they're just creating all these monopolies that are turning us all into communists. I mean, other than that. But yeah, so keep an eye on this Russia thing. This is real. This is coming at you. This, the more you see them trying to do things to make you angry at Russia, right? The more that they're really trying to, they're working the behind the scenes, just like leading up to Iraq, lying about the mobile trucks that never existed, lying about the, that those centrifuges that were never designed for making plutonium, but and they knew that before they told you about it. They knew about the mobile trucks weren't real before they told you about it. They said that they got bad information. They didn't get bad information. They used misinformation. They used lies to get you excited about war. And they're about to do it again, it looks like. So just, like I said, just pay attention, don't just get your source from the main media, because they're owned by these characters. All right, bye.